Hashtag the necromancer of the 21st century. Part 1. The old woman died at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I brought her back before her coffee got cold. Not exactly how I planned to spend my morning, but when you're the only practicing necromancer in metropolitan Los Angeles, you learn to keep flexible hours. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 28 years old, and yes, I raise the dead for a living. Before you picture graveyards and zombies stumbling through shopping malls, let me stop you right there. Modern necromancy looks nothing like the movies. There's no fog machines, no Latin chanting, definitely no rotting corpses. What I do is more like emergency medical intervention for the metaphysically challenged. Think of it as a very specialized form of resuscitation, except the patient's soul has already checked out, and I'm the guy who has to convince it to come back. The woman's name was Patricia Hendricks, 73, died of a stroke in her Pasadena condo while reading the morning paper. Her daughter found her slumped over the kitchen table, already cold. I got the call at 4:15 a.m. Mr. Webb, this is Jennifer Hendricks. Your number was in my mother's phone under in case of death. Is that some kind of joke? I wish it was. See, most people don't know necromancers exist. We're not in the yellow pages. We don't advertise on Instagram. The few of us still practicing keep it quiet, working through word of mouth and very specific referrals. Patricia knew about me because I'd helped her sister 2 years ago. Similar situation, different ending. I can be there in 40 minutes, I told Jennifer. Don't call 911 yet. Don't touch anything. And whatever you do, don't let anyone take the body. Silence on the other end. Then, what are you talking about? My mother is dead. I know. That's why you called me. I hung up before she could argue. The drive from my apartment in Silver Lake to Pasadena takes 30 minutes without traffic. I made it in 22. My kit was already packed in the trunk. It always is. You can't exactly run to CVS for necromantic supplies when someone's soul is slipping further into the void with every passing minute. Jennifer met me at the door. Her eyes were red, mascara streaked down her cheeks, but she'd stopped crying. Shock does that. Puts you in this weird autopilot mode where everything feels distant and unreal. She's in the kitchen, Jennifer said. I didn't move her. Like you said, Patricia was exactly where her daughter described. Slumped forward, one hand still gripping the newspaper, her reading glasses askew on her nose. The coffee cup next to her was half full. Steam had stopped rising from it maybe 20 minutes ago. I checked my watch. 4:58 a.m. That meant Patricia had been dead for about 70 minutes. Not great, but workable. How much time do we have? Jennifer asked from the doorway. She wouldn't come into the kitchen. Couldn't look at her mother like that. Depends on how strong her attachment to this world is, I said, opening my kit on the counter. Could be 2 hours, could be 6. After that, the connection becomes too weak. She'll be gone for good. And you can really bring her back? Like, actually alive? I started laying out what I needed. Candles, unscented, white, a small bronze bowl, herbs that would make most people sneeze, and the thing that makes this all possible, a shard of obsidian no bigger than my thumbnail, carved with symbols older than written language. I can try, I said, but you need to understand something. When someone comes back, they're not always the same person who left. Sometimes they remember everything, sometimes just fragments, and sometimes... I paused, measuring out dried sage into the bowl. Sometimes they come back wrong. Jennifer's voice went small. Wrong how? I'd seen it twice in 5 years of practice. Once with a teenage boy who drowned in a swimming pool. once with a man who died in a car crash on the 405. They came back, sure, breathing, talking, walking around. But something fundamental was missing. Some spark that makes a person human. They were hollow, empty, like someone had taken the soul and left only the machinery running. "It's rare," I said, which was true but not particularly comforting. "Your mother's death was peaceful, natural. Those tend to go smoother." "Tend to?" I didn't answer that. The ritual itself takes about 15 minutes. I won't bore you with the details, partly because most of it wouldn't make sense without years of training, partly because some knowledge is better left unshared. But the basic principle is simple enough. Death creates a severing between body and soul. What I do is repair that severing before it becomes permanent. Think of it like welding two pieces of metal back together, except the metal is consciousness, and the welding torch is fueled by something humans weren't supposed to touch. I lit the candles, mixed the herbs, placed the obsidian shard on Patricia's forehead. Then I started pulling her back. It's hard to describe what happens next. You feel it more than see it. Like reality develops a crease, a fold where something that shouldn't be possible suddenly is. The air gets heavy, sounds become muffled, and if you're paying attention, really paying attention, you can sense the exact moment when the soul decides whether to return or keep drifting into whatever comes after. Patricia's soul was stubborn. Good. I could work with stubborn. But here's what nobody tells you about necromancy, what you can't learn from books or mentors or years of practice. Every time you pull someone back from death, a little piece of you goes with them into that dark. It's the price, the exchange. Life for life, in the smallest possible increment. Most days I try not to think about how many pieces of myself I've already given away. The candles flickered. Patricia's chest rose, sharp, sudden, like she'd broken through the surface of deep water. Her eyes snapped open. Jennifer gasped. I held up a hand, signaling her to stay back. "Mom?" Her voice cracked. "Mom, can you hear me?" Patricia's eyes moved, unfocused, scanning the ceiling like she was reading something written there. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Where?" The word came out rough, unused. "Where am I?" "You're home, Mrs. Chen," I said, keeping my voice level. "You're in your kitchen. Do you know what day it is?" Her gaze found me. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, she just stared. Then, "Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I was making tea." Good sign. Awareness of the moments before death usually meant the soul had come back intact. "What year is it?" I asked. 2024, April. She blinked, and I watched her pupils contract, adjust, start processing light normally again. "Why can't I feel my legs? Give it a minute." The connection between soul and body takes time to fully restore. You'll feel pins and needles soon. That's normal. Jennifer moved closer, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, we thought I was dead." Patricia said it matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather. "I remember dying. It didn't hurt. There was just less and less of me, like someone turning down a dimmer switch." She looked at her hands, flexing fingers that hadn't moved in 3 hours. "But I'm not dead now." "No," I said. "You're not. How is that possible?" I started packing up my kit. The obsidian shard had developed a hairline crack, normal wear and tear from the ritual. I'd need to get it recarved soon. "Does it matter how?" She thought about that. "I suppose not." The pins and needles hit right on schedule. Patricia winced, shifting her weight, testing her body like someone trying on clothes after losing weight. Everything fit, but nothing felt quite right yet. that would pass. Usually. There will be some disorientation, I said. Some memory gaps, especially from the last few hours before death. You might have dreams that feel more real than they should, and food will taste slightly off for about a week. That's it? Jennifer asked. No side effects? Nope. No promises, I cut in. I've given you what you asked for. Your mother is alive, but I can't guarantee what kind of life she'll have from here. Harsh? Maybe. But people need to understand what they're buying. I left them there, mother and daughter, reunited, sitting at a kitchen table where 3 hours ago one of them had been a corpse. I didn't stick around for the tears or the questions or the slow realization that death leaves marks even when you erase it. The drive back to my apartment took 40 minutes. LA traffic, even at night. I spent most of it thinking about Patricia's face when she came back. That moment of confusion, like she'd expected something different on the other side and was disappointed to find herself back here. Most people are. My apartment is small, studio technically, though I've seen walk-in closets with more square footage, but it's mine, and more importantly, it's warded. Salt lines at the threshold, symbols carved into the door frame. Nothing gets in that I don't invite. I dropped my kit on the counter and poured 3 fingers of whiskey. Didn't bother with ice. The burn felt appropriate. My phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. She's talking, laughing. It's really her. Thank you. Aunt Di didn't respond. Give it time, I thought. Give it a few days. Because here's the thing about necromancy that nobody wants to acknowledge. Death changes people. Even when you bring them back, even when the soul returns intact and the body works and the memories are mostly there, something shifts. Has to. You can't touch that darkness and come back unchanged. I learned that the hard way. My mentor, the woman who taught me this craft, used to say that death is a door. Most people walk through it once, but some of us learn to walk back and forth, testing the hinges, checking the locks. Eventually, she said, you forget which side you're supposed to be on. She died 6 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. I found her in her apartment 3 days later. I could have brought her back. Had everything I needed. The knowledge, the tools, the desperate desire to not be alone in this work. But I didn't. Because she'd made me promise, years before, that if it happened to her, I'd let her stay dead. Some doors, she'd said, are meant to close. I finished the whiskey, poured another. The truth is, every time I perform this ritual, I wonder if I'm helping people or just postponing the inevitable. Death comes for everyone eventually. All I'm doing is buying time, and sometimes that time comes with interest. My phone buzzed again. Different number this time. Unknown caller. I answered. Is this the necromancer? A woman's voice. Young, shaking. Someone gave me your number. My brother, he died yesterday and I need... How did he die? I asked. Car accident. Head-on collision. They said it was instant. He didn't suffer. I closed my eyes. Trauma cases were always complicated. The soul doesn't sever cleanly when death is violent. It tears, leaves jagged edges that don't heal right. I can meet you tomorrow, I said, but I need you to understand something first. Anything. I'll do anything. I can't promise he'll come back whole. Silence on the line. Then, but there's a chance. There's always a chance. That's the problem. Yes, I said. There's a chance. I gave her my rate, my address, instructions on what to bring. She thanked me 6 times before hanging up. I sat there for a long time after the call ended, staring at the whiskey in my glass. The amber liquid caught the light from the street outside, broke it into fractured patterns on the wall. Death by car accident. Violent. Sudden. The kind of death that leaves marks. Most people think resurrection is about the body. Get the heart beating, the lungs breathing, and you're done. But the body is just a vessel. The real work is in the stitching, pulling a soul back from wherever it's wandered and convincing it to stay put. And souls that leave violently, they scatter. I'd done trauma cases before. A drowning victim in San Diego, a construction worker in Phoenix who fell 6 stories, a teenager in Portland who'd taken too many pills. Each one came back different, fragmented, like a mirror that's been broken and glued back together. Functional, maybe, but never quite right again. The drowning victim couldn't take baths anymore, said the water felt wrong, too heavy, like it was trying to pull her under even when she was standing in 2 inches of it. The construction worker developed vertigo so severe he couldn't climb a single step without vomiting. The teenager? She was fine for 3 weeks. Then she locked herself in her bathroom and finished what she'd started. Some resurrections take, others don't. I finished my second whiskey and moved to the window. LA stretched out below, a grid of lights that went on forever. Somewhere out there, a body was in a morgue. A family was grieving. And tomorrow, I'd try to undo what the universe had already decided. The thing is, I'm good at what I do. Better than good. I've brought back 63 people in 7 years. 63 souls that walked through death's door and came back because I knew how to turn the handle from this side. But I've also failed. 11 times. 11 people who stayed dead despite everything I tried. 11 families who paid me thousands of dollars for nothing but false hope and a body that stayed cold. I don't think about them often. Can't afford to. My phone buzzed. Email this time. Patricia's toxicology report forwarded by Jennifer with a single line. Clean. She really was just sick. I deleted it. Didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the brother, the car accident, the jagged-edged soul I'd be hunting tomorrow. I pulled out my notebook, started making preparations mentally. I'd need the usual supplies, candles, salt, bone dust. But for trauma cases, you need more. Binding agents to hold the pieces together, anchors to keep the soul from drifting, and time. Lots of time. The ritual itself takes 4 hours minimum, sometimes 6, once 8, though that one didn't take anyway. I'd need to see the body first, assess the damage. Physical trauma translates to spiritual trauma. It's a 1-to-1 correlation that nobody's been able to explain, but everyone in my field accepts. A broken neck means a fractured connection between body and soul. Head trauma means memory gaps, personality shifts, cognitive damage that no amount of healing can fix. Car accident, head-on collision, instant death. That could mean anything. Best case, the impact killed him so fast his soul barely registered the violence. Worst case, he was conscious for those final seconds, felt everything. And that feeling imprinted on his soul like a scar. I'd know tomorrow. My mentor used to say that necromancy is about consent. The soul has to want to come back. You can call it, convince it, even bargain with it, but you can't force it. The universe has rules, and that's one of them. But trauma victims, they don't always know what they want. Their souls are confused, disoriented, still processing the violence of their exit. They're like children lost in a dark forest. They might run toward your voice, or they might run away from it. Depends on what they think you represent. Safety or more pain. I closed the notebook, poured a 3rd whiskey but didn't drink it. Just held the glass, felt its weight. Tomorrow I'd meet the sister, look at photos of her brother, Learn his name. Hear stories about who he was. That's part of the process, too. You can't resurrect a stranger. Need to know them, understand them, build a mental map of who they were so you know who you're calling back. Then comes the hard part. The ritual itself is straightforward enough. Circle of salt, candles at the cardinal points, symbols drawn in bone dust and ash. You place the body in the center and begin the chant. Old words, Latin mixed with older languages. Aramaic, Sumerian, tongues that died millennia ago, but left echoes we still use. And you call. You call the name over and over until your voice goes hoarse. You call with intent, with focus, with every ounce of will you possess. You reach across that barrier between life and death and you grab. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't, and sometimes, this is the part nobody talks about, something else answers instead. I learned that one the hard way too. My third resurrection. A woman named Carol died of pneumonia. Simple case, or should have been. But when I called her name, what came back wasn't her. It wore her face, spoke with her voice, knew her memories. But the eyes were wrong. I sent it back. Had to. The family never knew how close they came to living with something that only pretended to be their mother. I've gotten better at screening since then. Built-in safeguards, verification steps, ways to confirm that what returns is actually what you called. But there's always risk. Always. I checked my watch, 2 a.m. The sister would be here at 9. 7 hours to sleep, prepare, steel myself for whatever tomorrow brought. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat by the window and watched LA's lights flicker like candles on a massive altar. Thought about doors and thresholds, about the difference between resurrection and desecration, about whether I was helping anyone at all. 9 o'clock came faster than expected. The sister's name was Rebecca. She arrived with a manila folder thick with photographs and a flash drive containing videos. Home movies mostly, birthday parties, Thanksgiving dinners, a camping trip where her brother, Daniel, his name was Daniel, nearly set the tent on fire trying to cook s'mores. He was terrible at camping, Rebecca said, almost smiling. But he loved it anyway. I watched the videos, listened to her stories, built the mental map. Daniel was 32 when he died. Software engineer. Played guitar badly but enthusiastically. Had a rescue dog named Pepper. Wanted to propose to his girlfriend but kept chickening out. The ring was still in his apartment, hidden in a sock drawer. She doesn't know, Rebecca said. I haven't told her. Details matter. The more you know, the stronger the connection. It's like tuning a radio. You need the exact frequency or you get static. Or worse. The body arrived at 6. They'd done good work with the reconstruction. You wouldn't know from looking at him that he'd been through a windshield. The funeral home had earned their fee. I started the prep at 7, drew the circle, placed the candles, mixed the bone dust and ash into the proper symbols. Everything had to be exact. Necromancy doesn't forgive sloppy work. Rebecca wanted to stay. I told her no. Some things families shouldn't witness. She argued, but not much. Deep down, she knew. 8 o'clock. I began the chant. The words felt heavy in my mouth, like speaking through mud. That's normal. The old languages resist being spoken by living tongues. You have to force them out, shape them carefully, make sure each syllable lands exactly right. I called his name, Daniel Marcus Webb, born April 15th, died January 3rd. I called the details: software engineer, guitar player, dog owner, almost fiancé. I called the memories Rebecca had shared, the camping trip, The birthday parties, the terrible singing voice he inherited from their father. I called for an hour. Nothing. It's not unusual. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes the soul needs convincing. I kept going, refining the call, adding more details, more specificity. 2 hours. Still nothing. My voice was getting rough. I sipped water, careful not to break the circle. Started again. 3 hours. That's when I felt it. A presence. Not in the room. Not yet. But close. Like someone standing just outside a door, deciding whether to knock. I intensified the call, focused everything I had on that presence, that hesitation. Come back. Your sister needs you. Come back. The candles flickered. Not from wind. The room was sealed. This was something else. The presence drew closer, and then I felt the wrongness. It's hard to describe if you've never experienced it. Like biting into fruit and tasting metal, like hearing music that's perfectly in tune, but somehow deeply wrong. The presence approaching wasn't Daniel. I stopped the chant immediately, began the dismissal, different words, sharper, commanding. Go back. You're not called. Return. The presence pushed harder. The candles went out, all 4 simultaneously. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. I grabbed the silver knife I keep for emergencies, cut my palm. Blood magic is dangerous, unpredictable, but it's also the strongest barrier you can build. I smeared blood across the circle's edge, reinforcing it, sealing it. The presence hit the barrier like a wave hitting a seawall. The whole room shook. Photographs fell from the walls. The body in the circle convulsed once, violently. I kept chanting the dismissal. Louder now, pouring everything into it. The presence thrashed against the barrier, testing it, probing for weakness. I gave it none. After what felt like hours but was probably minutes, it retreated, pulled back across that threshold between here and there. The temperature normalized. The pressure in the room eased. I waited 15 minutes before breaking the circle. Standard protocol. Make absolutely sure nothing's lingering. Rebecca was in the waiting room, pacing. She looked up when I entered, hope and dread fighting across her face. It didn't work, I said. Her face crumpled. Why not? How do you explain this? How do you tell someone that their brother's soul either couldn't or wouldn't return, and something else tried to take his place instead? Sometimes they're not ready, I said. It was true, if incomplete. Sometimes they've moved on too far. I'm sorry. She cried. I let her. There's no comfort I can offer that means anything. I failed, and she lost him twice now. After she left, I sat alone with Daniel's body. The funeral home would collect it in the morning. I'd write my report, note the failed resurrection, file it with the council. Just another number in the statistics. But I kept thinking about that presence. What it was, why it came. You don't get false responses randomly. Something heard the call and answered deliberately, trying to slip through wearing Daniel's name like a mask. Which means something's listening. Something's waiting for opportunities exactly like this, and that's the part of necromancy nobody talks about in the textbooks. The part you only learn through experience. Every door you open goes both ways. I poured the whiskey I'd been saving, drank it slowly. Tomorrow I'd reinforce my wards, check my protections, make sure nothing followed that presence back through the gap I'd created. Tonight, I sat with the failure, with the weight of what I'd almost let through, with the knowledge that next time, because there's always a next time, I might not be fast enough. The lights of LA kept flickering outside. The city kept breathing, kept living, kept dying. And somewhere in that vast machinery of existence, Daniel's soul had made its choice. I just hoped he was at peace with it. I poured another whiskey and watched the sun come up over Los Angeles. Another night, another resurrection attempted, another family left with less than they started with. Patricia Hendricks was alive, walking around, drinking coffee like nothing had happened. But Daniel? Daniel stayed dead. That's the reality of this work. You don't save everyone. Can't. Some souls don't want saving and some doors should stay closed. My phone will ring again tomorrow. Someone else will die, someone else will call. Someone else will ask me to undo what the universe has decided. And I'll try, because that's what I do. I raise the dead in the 21st century. Sometimes it works. Most times, it doesn't.